Hello, hello, and welcome everybody. I hope you're having a great day so far, and I know that your day is about to get better. With our guest today, Greg Martinson, dear friend of mine and past client, but like most of my clients, has become an amazing friend, and what a blessing in my life. And I have learned many things from Greg, and I know that he's got some gifts and some wisdom to share with all of us today. So let me introduce Greg Martinson. And Greg grew up in upper New York State, but now lives just outside Portland, Oregon, with his beautiful wife, Kristen, aka Beacon of Light, and his three beautiful children. And is a brilliant CFO with about 30 years plus years of experience, and most of that in healthcare. Greg is on a lifelong quest to become the best and most authentic version of himself, which is, of course, why he's so juicy and wanted to have him on the show today. So welcome, Greg. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. How you doing, Kelly?
I am good. Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, maybe a little more, and kind of what's going on for you right now?
Yeah, I think you did a good job summarizing, sort of where I'm at. I had the pleasure of getting to know you about 5 years ago in a coaching session in California. And I'll never forget that I sat down with you, and I'd say within 2 to 3 minutes, I think you had me pretty much pegged. I was sort of the typical corporate CFO type person, and, pretty well guarded, I think. And you pretty much saw right through some of the, I think, stuff that was going on there. And, that really resonated with me because of the way you did it was in a way that was very positive, uplifting and supportive and safe. And so I think that really stuck with me as an opportunity to truly try to be my authentic self and to really work on that. Not only then, but since then as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Greg. And I really appreciate you saying those words. But of course, this show is not about me. It's about you. So let's get back to you. But thank you so much, buddy. You know how much I respect and love you and Kristen. And I truly mean it when I say you're a blessing in my life. But thank you for that. But tell us, I know that you've sort of got some things going on, and maybe can you share some of that with us and sort of what you're learning right at this moment?
Yeah, about I guess 4 months ago, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a form of blood cancer. Was really through a physical, had some irregular blood counts. It was found out, and then I went through the process of trying to determine what was going on, and I was diagnosed with that and have been on treatment for about 4 months. And I had an opportunity to talk to you shortly thereafter, and shocking news because I've been relatively healthy, my whole life, and exercise and eat pretty well. Certainly wasn't something that was expected, and scary, to be faced with that uncertain future. But I've been pleasantly surprised with how things have gone since then. Hearing from you and a lot of other people about try to turn this, tough situation, this challenge, into an opportunity, into almost think of it as a blessing. And at first it was a little hard to get my arms around that, but the more I thought about it and the more positive support I got from people, I just had a tremendous amount of positive support from people and encouragement and, telling me to look at the bright side, look at the positives. So I really embraced that mindset. And the one thing that I've really learned from this process is that ever since starting to work with you 5 years ago, I've been really trying to work on my authentic self and trying to be that person I've always wanted to be completely.
Yes.
In all my relationships and work and at home. And that's a work in progress. But if I'm being completely honest, I will say that this was the type of thing that really is a wake-up call. It makes you go, we don't know how much time we're going to have. None of us do. It's not just someone with an
Absolutely.
illness. None of us do. And don't wait for something like that to happen to say, hey, I'm this age, I've achieved this success, I have this, done in my life. Now I'm going to be that person. We can be that person our whole lives, and we should. And it's, live each day, as that person that you want to be. And so through this, I guess, 4-month process, I felt like a lightness. I felt like an opportunity to be not so uptight, not so worried, not
Right.
so, or maybe just more open to possibilities and more understanding of other viewpoints, not sweating the small stuff, as they say. So, because of the, this challenge and this illness, there's the fear is there, but it's, my wife tells me all the time, just let's live each day, let's celebrate each day. And so I'm noticing things that I never used to notice, just in the small things, in a smile, or, a walk, or little things like that are beautiful. And the weather, anything that's going on in the world, and just trying to embrace the beauty of the world and of life, because we just don't know how much time we'll have.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you know what I think is so interesting is, and you and I have spoken about this, is, I mean, there's some people in the world that will not be, never mind open to being coached, but just ready to do some work until they hit a rock bottom or go through a crisis or a trauma or something like that. And I know you yourself have said, I know we did our work together and we did our coaching together and all of that, but I've really dug deep since this diagnosis only 4 months ago. And you remember the words you said, because they stuck with me, which are, it shouldn't have to be that you have to go through something like this to sort of wake up to actually diving deep into the work that you need to do to live life. I mean, to really feel life and engage with life and into relationships and connections. So say more about that.
Yeah, and I think, when we started going through our coaching, and you, as I said, you made me feel safe to go to those places that we might not like to go to, not in a negative way, but in an opportunity way. And I had different levels of success doing that since the years we started working together. Because what would happen sometimes, I'd get really into it, and then I'd be really excited, and then something else was going on in life, and so I'd lose track of it and not focus on it as much, and then be reminded of it. And so it's there, but to really devote yourself to the person that you want to be, I think takes conscious effort every day. So I've started doing things like, I'm a sort of a list maker, and I write a lot of reminders on my daily calendar that's on my phone and computer, just about of who I want to be every day, and the things I'm grateful for, and just to embrace today. And it's really a different way of thinking, because I was someone who typically goes through the day with my 25 things I've got to do on my to-do list, and try to hammer them out, and then but in a sense that's not really living. It's just sort of, I guess you're making progress on your work list, but it's not really living the moment. And I think this can be done at work too. I think this can be done in embracing your work relationships and embracing the opportunity. Every challenge or crisis has an opportunity on the other side. So overall, just the more awareness, living it every day. I'm fortunate that I have someone like you, sends me great reminders and articles and videos, and my wife and kids are also fantastic at just being positive. So the great part about this is a lot of days I almost forget what's going on. I have treatment once a week
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital, and I take medication every day, but for the most part, life is good, and I'm very, very blessed because some people in my condition that have my condition have it much worse. So it's been a great experience from a not so great experience for me to get to this point. And I will probably be going in for a transplant in February. It's a stem cell transplant. It's part of multiple myeloma treatment. And from there, there's probably a couple month recovery period. And then if everything goes well, there will be in a period of remission. And then I think the challenge there will, hopefully we get there. And if we do, then to don't ever take anything for granted, to embrace that opportunity of post-transplant to continue to be that person I want to be. And as I said, it applies to everything. It applies to everything we do throughout our day, our relationships, our what we believe in, how we do things, how we talk to strangers, anything that we do in life, it applies to. And I think at my core, that's who I am. But like you and I have talked about, I think a lot of times we sort of diffuse those thoughts or those feelings because we think we have to be a certain way.
Yes.
And, for me being in the finance and in the corporate world, that means a certain thing. But you're still the same person, and
yes.
I think people want to see that genuine side of us, the authentic side of us. And another thing I've learned is people usually know or have an idea of our vulnerabilities or, some of our not so great qualities. So don't try to pretend we're something that we're not. Just try to be who we are and embrace that for what it's worth.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing that, Greg, and being so honest about all of it. Because, we can all be guilty of, suiting up and putting our armor on, putting our CFO hat on or whatever it is for the day and go through the day. And I mean, we all have responsibilities and we have jobs to do and we have to be functional and efficient at those jobs. But, Leadership 101 is authenticity. I mean, transparency, authenticity, connecting, having true connection in relationships. That's how communication happens. It's seemingly so simple, but also so difficult. And we're not fooling anyone when we're trying to be someone we're not. And it eats at ourselves, right? I mean, it's a cause of anxiety within us when we are trying to be something we're not, or act in a way or behave in a way which isn't who we are, and from our core, from the beauty of our core, which, if anything you want to go back to, I had you nailed in 2 minutes. It's like I saw this beautiful gleaming light, right? All hiding behind his armor, slightly arrogant, slightly, fearful, like, who's this crazy woman? And, all the rest of it. And, it's such a place of power. Like, tell me how you feel. Do you not feel more powerful being?
That's a great word. That's a great word for it. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective, but it is more powerful. It's because it's genuine. And it's like anytime we have a conversation with someone that's genuine versus, small talk or perfunctory, it just feels better. And I think for me personally, it was knowing that you can be safe and be your true self. And and people will recognize that and appreciate that. When we meet someone who we have a feeling isn't being maybe as authentic as they could be, there's a lack maybe of trust there, right? There's a lack of connection with that person. And for me, I love to connect with people. And so I think hearing that sometimes maybe I wasn't as well as I could, or wasn't as being as authentic as I should be, was a bit of a wake-up call, because I think we all try to be that way, but in my case, I certainly wasn't at all times. And so, this feels more powerful. It feels like, hoping and praying for great success with this treatment, because I want to live this way the rest of my days. I hope it's a long time, and
Yes.
it's really a powerful and beautiful way to live. So, I'm grateful to you and your encouragement, and I encourage people to find someone like Kelly, or work with Kelly, or this theory of authenticity is powerful in the sense that we can get rid of all the guises and all of the things that aren't real, that we think we're supposed to be. And at the end of it, we're all just people, and we're all vulnerable, and we all want to connect, and we all need to feel valued and safe. And being around people like yourself has been huge for me. So yeah, definitely encourage people to do that, and to find someone to talk to. And the interesting part about discussions with you has been started out in a work environment, and we did talk about work situations, but everything ended up coming back to me, and how I dealt with situations, and what my blocks were, what my sort of blinders were. What would trigger me, and what would make me feel emotional or fearful. Most of that comes from fear, and as we worked through those things, it became clear that there's usually not that much to be fearful for. To genuinely try to resolve issues and keep our personal noise quiet. Doesn't mean you don't acknowledge it, what you're feeling, but we definitely shouldn't say everything we're thinking or feeling as well. So that for me was a huge breakthrough initially, and then, like I said, this opportunity, as I'm calling it now, an opportunity,
yes,
to be to live a great life, and to live a great authentic life. And we've talked about children. For those of us that have children or know children that are close to them, there's so much beauty in children and the innocence of them, and we can learn so much from them. How my kids have reacted to this has been incredibly inspiring. And their children, they're not fully adults at this point, but they are to the point where they have wisdom, and noticing the wisdom of children, I think, is one of the other things that I've really embraced through this process.
Right. That's so beautiful. It gives me goosebumps, actually, when you speak about your kids like that. It's that's big. And Greg, that is so great. I love to hear you call your current diagnosis, because it's just a fleeting thing, I believe. And you are on the upswing. I mean, we should probably share that your results at this moment are amazing, right?
Yes.
And I'm not surprised, because you are doing all the right things with the mindset and beliefs and thoughts, and just holistically looking after yourself and those around you, and allowing others to come in and support you and be on this journey with you. But I love to hear you call this diagnosis an opportunity. Because one of our earlier discussions when I first found out was about, I remember leaving you with some homework to ponder on, which was, how can you look at this diagnosis of this cancer as a gift? And let's talk about that next time. So I know it hits you like in the gut when someone says that to you, like, oh my God, who are you? I thought I loved you, but what the hell? How could you say that to me? But share with us how you went through that process, like how that landed on you, and how you think about it now.
Yeah, when I first heard it, it was what? But I've had so much positive reinforcement from so many people. I've been really blown away by it, and I said I could do this one of two ways. I could be fearful and negative, or I can be positive and hopeful. And I very much believe in the power of positive thinking, and just living in a positive aura, and not letting stress get you. So it's a bit contrarian to sometimes who I've been in the past in terms of, high stress job and high stress life and things like that. But I do believe in that. And so I'm blessed in the sense that I never really got into a dark period. One of the things I tend to do is, if there's a problem, okay, what are we going to do to fix it? And so for this, it was the treatment. It was the very clear treatment plan. We made good progress. But I've read a lot about and watched a lot of videos about, if you don't have the right attitude about anything, especially an illness, the medications and the treatment, it hopefully will work, but you've got to believe it. You've got to believe in the opportunity to get well and to embrace everything that you are and the opportunity you have. So it was really pretty quick. It was, I don't ever remember going into a dark place for a long period of time. Even now, there's still moments of fear, but as I said, for the most part, because of this great support I've had and believing in the power of how much mind and body are correlated, and the impact that our thoughts have on our physical well-being, completely believe that. So it's sometimes I've almost feel a little like, oh, this really isn't that bad, because I don't like sympathy, and sometimes people try to give you sympathy, but for the most part, people aren't doing that. They're just being encouraging. And
yes.
So I don't want to be that person who's, discouraging those people.
Yes.
From seeing the best opportunity to do this. And I also don't want to be. I know sometimes people want to be an inspiration for others, and I've had people tell me you can be an inspiration for others, but I don't necessarily want to have that as a goal. I just want to live the way that is the best way for me to live and to be the best version of myself I can be. And if that inspires people through a challenging time, fantastic. But it's not necessarily a goal. It's just the right way to do things and the right way to go about things, I think, for myself.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I mean, I know that you have no mission and no ego and,
Right.
anything like that. But, you can't help but touch lives by even the people that have worked with you for years, watching this change in you as a person, right? I mean, it's kind of, don't do what I say, do what I do. And people are watching you, and that impact is huge, more than you know. I can guarantee you that. I also remember the conversation, and I've had this with many other individuals of my clients or friends that have come across an illness, is that, some people think they're being helpful, with, what to say to someone like yourself that are in the midst of it, and doing their best to not let fear take them under and stay in healthy thought process and healthy mindset. And by the way, it's not just a belief system, it's hard science, it's hard neuroscience, and plenty of white papers and research that you can dive into if you need evidence-based. But it is hard. There's hard science. I mean, our thoughts change our DNA. I mean, it's to that point. And in fact, our thoughts and our DNA being changed changes generations that may come through us. So it's hard science. It's not just belief woo-woo stuff. But tell me about how you dealt with or how it was for you when, people seemingly well-meaning, one of the things people I know will say is, oh, you've got that cancer. Oh, my brother had that and he did this, and oh, here's what you need to do. And they're all with the advice, right?
Right.
And so let us know how that feels for you, or how that felt for you.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was sort of mixed. I mean, on one hand, you appreciate the genuine effort to help, and then I realized pretty quickly, and my wife Kristen realized, that it was adding stress. And so one of the things she did is she created a Facebook private page for friends and family to share updates.
Yeah.
And I've been focusing on the positive, and and there is a tendency for the help to become negative
Yeah.
and overwhelming and stressful. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was very early on, I got clarity. You helped me with that. Others helped me with that. That allowed me to say, hey, I'm just going to put some, I guess, barriers up, in terms of, how far we want to go there and how much we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I realized after time that the cumulative effect of all the conversations was a downer, and I didn't want to go there. And one of the other things I've done is I haven't read. I'm normally a researcher and a big reader on whatever situation I'm in, but I haven't done a lot of that on purpose, because there's a lot of negative out there, and there's a lot of situations that haven't turned out great. So I'm sort of knowing what I need to know, and other than that, I'm a little bit going with blinders, because I know the treatment, and I know the diet, exercise, and the mental outlook are what I can control, and that's what I'm controlling. And beyond that, try not to overcomplicate things and simplify things as much as possible. But taking all of that and the positive feedback that I've had, the positive news in terms of my markers coming down to the point where I'm getting close to be able to do the transplant.
Yes.
It's actually been it feels weird to say this, a kind of a fun journey. It's been great to see the progress, great to feel the feedback from folks, and the personal progress, the personal growth, the journey that I'm on is exciting. I'm passionate about it. My work relationships, I tried to be very positive and not talk about it that much, and people are very supportive of that, and you just sort of want to be treated like you've always been treated.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thank you for sharing that, because I think that's one of the things that I always think is such a shame, and we're just human beings trying to do the best we can do. But I would just like to say to the listeners out there, if you ever have someone in your family or close to you, or that comes up with some sort of an illness, I think some of the worst things to do to that person is to act like you have all the answers, or oh, my brother had it, or my sister had it, or oh, here's what you need, I researched this, and or worse than that, sort of bring that person, the person with the diagnosis, into healing you and looking after you and your worry and stress and all of that. I mean, that can really, you need to focus on you. And, again, people are well-meaning, and they don't maybe even cognizant that they're doing it. But I know I've seen it in my own family, never mind with clients and people that I know. So that's one thing I would just really love to be out there. Just, I think a better thing is like, what can I do for you, buddy? Like, what can I do for you? Or you tell us, Greg, what's the best thing you've heard as a reaction when someone, what felt uplifting to you?
I think there are a lot of different things, but to just finish up on your last point, I think that's a great point to make in terms of it. It almost felt like, I was sort of taking care of everyone else's stress, because, I do want to help people feel better, and you worry about the loved ones in your life and them feeling okay. And so
you don't want to shut them out, because they are part of the journey, but it's not your job to babysit them and put your energy in that direction.
That's where it became obvious it was too much. It was like, wait a minute, I really need to be focused. And it's not selfish to think you have to focus on your health and your positive mindset, and you really have to be conscious and very aware all day and about your mindset. And if it goes down there too much, oh, what does this person think? Oh, they don't agree with what I'm doing, or they think I should be doing that. And it's like, oh, this is my journey, and I have to do it my way. And then, I think in terms of the reactions, it's just been, some people have been just texts or, Facebook messages or emails or calls or whatever, just very, very positive and supportive, and saying, mentioning all the positive things, the general good health, the positive attitude, the
Yeah.
The diagnosis, the treatment, making progress, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start going down the other road and say, are you scared? Are you, how are you really doing? No, really, how are you doing? And
Yeah, that's right. And there, yeah.
no, really, I'm doing great. Yes, I have moments of
Yeah.
fear and being scared, but for the most part, I've never felt this positive for this long. It's 4 months, and I'd say my adult life, and that's the blessing that's come out of this.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. Wonderful. So, we're coming to a close because I like to keep this short. And I thank you so much, buddy. And you know how much I just adore you. And you look like you're glowing. Like, I mean, honestly, you are glowing from the inside out. And I love to see you like that.
Thank you.
It makes my heart happy. But, I always ask my guests at the end, and if we think about you being future focused, what are you going to do in the year 2019 and beyond to continue to ignite yourself from within, or reignite when you sort of maybe get into those fear? What are maybe 2 or 3 things that you'd like to share with us on what your strategy is there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, continuing to do what I'm doing, and sometimes, as I said earlier, when we get into a great place, it's easy to get off the rail, so to speak. And so I have to be very intentional every day about staying in that mindset. And that's my notes. That's connecting with positive people. It's reading about opportunities, and journaling is something else to do. In terms of recording how I'm feeling and doing. But also, I think next year, every year feels like a new opportunity. So my goal is to continue the work I've already started, and to continue to be as successful as I think I've been so far. With the opportunity, if we're in remission, I don't want to look at that as an opportunity to just go back to how things were. If there's a chance to get upset over something, or there's an opportunity that maybe in the past we would have saw as a negative situation, look at that differently in 2019. Look at that as, hey, how can we turn this around? Or is this really that big of a deal? And embrace the beauty in everyone. Everyone has beauty in them. Everyone has great qualities, and embrace that. And just continue on the journey. Continue learning about myself, connecting in person. I think I can't overstate the importance of connecting with positive, supportive people like yourself that help make us feel good about ourselves and safe about maybe some of our not as great qualities that sometimes come out. And that's our authentic self. And so I think it's a lifelong journey, and continue to work on those things next year.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate you. I know you're busy, crazy busy, especially fourth quarter, CFO stuff, all that. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share yourself with us today, and from a truly authentic space. So I see that from you, and it makes me so thrilled. And I know that the listeners have enjoyed hearing from you. So thank you. And with that, I think I will wrap things up for us today. And please, in the meantime, get out there and ignite and reignite, and see who's in your inner circle that may need, some igniting today, and send them some sparks. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.